On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, controversy has arisen from something Raheem Mostert said today as Tua Tagovailoa goes to Disney on Ice the day after he suffers a concussion and was showing no post-concussion syndromes. Are the Miami Dolphins playing a PR game, or are they truly looking out for Tua's health? We are going to talk about that. Plus, we will preview the Week 3 matchup between the Miami Dolphins and the Seattle Seahawks. I'll give you my keys to victory, my matchup to watch, and so much more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Field on the near side, man open. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. It's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We welcome you back to this episode, which is powered by BetUS. Appreciate all of you coming through. Man, we got a lot to talk about today. I know the fan base, at least on X, is a little up in arms over some information that came out today. So we will talk about all of that and much more. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Friday as you showing love. Pro Special, Cycling with Volvo, AZ Fanatic, Brian Walters, Matt Farms, Robert Thompson, Joseph Castro, Hog Wild, Context, Russell Swan, IT Respect, Jason Stamps, Chris G, Garrett, John Fiorino, who else we got here? George Rodriguez, Jeff Fremont, Timothy Washington, Tony Rizzi, JCC and J Macho from P-Town, 300 Egos, Colin, Daniel. Hope everyone is having a fantastic start to your weekend. What's up, Mario? Scott, M. Cord, Steve V, Samuel Rosa, Coach AJ, Anthony Mancini. I hope all of you are doing well. Man, what's going on, Nate? Nice hat. Hey, bro, no green screen. I can finally rock some gear that I haven't been able to rock for a couple years. So it's nice, bro. Jeez. Man, first of all, let's talk about this. The Jets beating the Patriots yesterday. Did we all really think the Patriots were for real? Shout out to DF. Did we all think the Patriots were for real? Okay. And that leads me to this. And I'm going to keep it $150. Because that's what I do over here. Here is my issue. All right? Here is my issue with everything going on. All right? What are you guys saying? Skipping? I'm skipping? Let me know if we're good. Here is my issue with everything that's going on, okay? Here's my issue with the Jets. How are they getting this excuse? How are they getting this excuse that everyone's praising them for beating the Patriots? All right, everyone's praising the Jets for what they did yesterday, but the Dolphins, when they beat a team that people deem is not good, what happens? What happens? Oh, well, they got to beat the good teams. And I'm seeing everyone out here ready to crown. Everyone is ready to crown Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. And I don't get it. I don't get it. You know, like the Dolphins got to beat all these teams, but, you know, here we are, and it's the Jets. Oh my God, they're for real. Oh my God, the Jets are back. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. I don't get it. Someone explain this to me. Why are they being held to a different standard? It just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, I don't know. I'm super confused by all this. You know, like I'm just baffled by this, because the Jets beat a team we can all agree isn't good, and the hype train starts gearing up and just starts rolling and steamrolling down the tracks. The Dolphins beat teams like the Jags, and, well, you know, they're not beating playoff teams. Someone explain this to me, please. Someone explain this to me. How the Dolphins are once again held to a different standard. Listen, I talk about this all the time. And I'm going to remind you guys. Do you remember when, some of you might remember when I joined this community back in 2019. And remember, I don't live in Miami, right? So now we had a couple properties in Orlando, but I didn't live in Miami. So I say we used to because we sold them since, but you know, I used to say, oh, you guys are crazy. You fans are nuts. There is no issue in terms of when you're talking about the when you're talking about the Miami Dolphins being, you know, a media bias against them. I used to say fans are crazy. Fans are nuts. You know, that's just fans being fans. Now, and I've said this before, I was wrong. I 110% agree with each and every one of you that used to tell me that back in 2019. There is a clear media bias against the Miami Dolphins right now. It is evident. There is not really a discussion to be had regarding it. It's clear as day. Now, I get it. A lot of the NFL media is based out of New York. That's fine. But, I mean, this is a serious issue as I've grown in this community and grown in this space and come more familiar and more acclimated with every voice in this space. I don't know. I just, you know, I'm going to say the same thing that the media says to the Miami Dolphins. New York, Aaron Rodgers, go beat a good team. You ain't going to sell me this narrative that because they beat the Jets, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers has arrived. Oh my God, the Jets might actually be good. Please. Please. And let me know in the chat right now, has the skipping stopped for all of you guys? I know some of you said you reset it and you redid it. But I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Read. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. I'm kind of over this, man. I'm kind of over this. It's John Valora, I would say, you know, refresh the page to all you, because everyone else is saying there's no skipping and stuff, so we're all good. So I would say refresh the page. because I just went on my YouTube while I was talking and I didn't get any skipping. So refresh the page. So, this whole Jets stuff, it's a little ridiculous, to be honest with you. It's a little freaking ridiculous. All right. It's just a little too much for me. Tech me out says, I part ways with you there. Rodgers is back and the Jets are a good team. I'm sorry. You give me a healthy Tua Tagovailoa, we sweep them again. Like, let's be honest. That touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson should have been picked off yesterday. That throw should have never been allowed to happen. Just shouldn't have. So, I'm not going to say, he's 40 years old, man. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, look out. So, hey, I'm good. You give me a healthy Tua Tagovailoa and we whoop that ass like we have done for the last, 4 years, sorry. Well, actually 5, because we're going into, and this is Tua's 5th year. So, I'm not ready to sit here and say they're good. They got to go beat some good teams. So I'm not about to sit here and put a crown on them for beating the Patriots. Just not happening. So, but shout out to everyone coming through the chat, showing some love on this Friday. You know what time it is. Let's not waste much more time. Let's get into this. I want to hop right into this because I got a lot to talk about. But before we do, like I said, this video is sponsored by BetUS. And listen, you got to go over to betus.com right now, and you got to smash the overs on Devon Achane. Minus 119 to be over 70.5 rushing yards. Minus 112 to be over 40.5 receiving yards. Minus 108 to be over 4.5 receptions. Why does this matter? I'll tell you why. The receptions alone, he's had 7 receptions in each of the last 2 games. The over 70.5 rushing yards. He had 98 rushing yards against the Bills, and he's probably going to be more of a focal point. In terms of the receiving yards, the guy has about 145 receiving yards over the last 2 games. Devon Achane is smashing all of these overs. You need to go over to BetUS. Use code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. And you will get a 150% deposit match on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. So go make some money on Devon Achane this weekend. That's what I recommend we all do. But if you do, or as you do that, please remember, gamble responsibly. All right? So Dolphins are plus 5,000 making the Super Bowl. Yeah, I would hold off on those Super Bowl bets right now because this is what I keep coming back to. 2 things. 1, you got to go at least 500 on this stretch where Tua is out. We haven't seen that happen yet. And 2, this is what keeps pulling me back. This is what keeps pulling me back on the whole Super Bowl notion. I think to myself, when was the last time you saw a team win a Super Bowl with an offensive line built like the one we have in Miami? The last time we saw a team in the Super Bowl with a bad offensive line was the Chiefs against the Bucs. But the Chiefs had lost players along the way in the playoffs. It's not like they went into the playoffs with that offensive line they had in the Super Bowl. Players were dropping as they made their playoff run. I just can't remember a team winning the Super Bowl or going to the Super Bowl. And when they did face the Bucs with that depleted of an offensive line, Mahomes was running for his life. Running for his life. And see, everyone wants to call us a finesse team. How do you want to be a physical team? Where does it all start? When you set that tone of physicality in a football game, it starts in the trenches. This is why I was saying I wanted Robert Hunt brought back. 2 years ago, I was saying, if you're not going to get Wilkins done, pivot and get Robert Hunt done. Problem was, they waited until Robert Hunt was in his contract year, and they didn't make him an offer that was respectable until like October. And by the time October rolls around you're 5, 6, 7, 8 games into the season, you might as well just play it the hell out. Even if you bring me an offer on October 1st, I'm more than a quarter of the way into the season with the first 4 games. I'm just going to play it out. And I feel like the offer that I know of that they brought him in October, had they brought him that offer in like June or July, Robert Hunt would probably still be a Miami Dolphin right now. But the problem is you waited too long. You sat. And they did the same thing with Wilkins. They played hardball with Wilkins. Then they came back to Wilkins in October, offered him money. Now, I've heard Wilkins was ready to accept it, but his agency stepped in and said, no, we can get you more money. Say no. And that's exactly what happened. But had they made that offer in June, the money that I heard, they finally came up to over $20 million, the money I heard, he probably would have accepted that offer in June or July. But again, you wait till October. Physicality starts in the trenches. That's where you can really start to punch teams in the mouth. Either, obviously, really through run blocking is where you start punching guys in the mouth and opening lanes and gashing them. So, I don't know. And now Teron Armstead's, wearing a whole shoulder harness. So, you figure that one out. 300 Ego says, do you think the contract looks bad now? Brother, just put it in the chat. Which contract are you talking about right now? Let me know which contract you're talking about. Hog Wild says, I tell you right now, Robert Hunt, he's glad to be paid, but he hates his job right now. Just put Tua. Does the contract, I mean, no. And I'll show you why in a second. No. You're going to see. Wait till guys, we saw how much money Dak Prescott got. Wait till guys start re-upping over the next 2 years. You are going to laugh. So, hindsight is everything, but not yet. Now, if he's hurt this year, we miss the playoffs. He's hurt next year, we miss the playoffs. Yeah, let's have a conversation about that contract. But I'm not going to sit here and say that that contract is bad yet. So, and they insured it. Obviously, they couldn't get as much insurance as guys who don't have this extensive of an injury history like Trevor Lawrence, but Burrow was the same thing, right? They could only get a certain amount of insurance on Burrow, similar to Tua. So, hey, everyone knows where I'm at with Tua. I wanted a legitimate contingency plan last offseason heading into 2023. I wanted Baker Mayfield last year. Now, obviously, he got a starter job. He's not going to take a backup job over a starter job, but I wanted Baker Mayfield last year. And now we see how Baker's balling out. I wanted a legitimate, when Tua went down, I wanted Sam Howell. I want a legitimate backup. Everyone knows my guy in this draft. I love Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart in this offense would be really, really good, and it would be a legitimate contingency plan you could build for the ground up, right? That's my issue with the whole Bryce Young narrative. I don't want Stafford. He's old. Why would I give up a second or third round pick to go get Stafford when I'm already questioning giving up a second or third round pick to give up for Bryce Young, who's much younger, a former first overall pick as well, who just needs to be rebuilt by Mike McDaniel, confidence and mentality wise, which we've already seen him help with Tua. And I'm still like, I would rather us get a blank canvas and build that man from the ground up. A la what Philly did with Hurts when they had Wentz signed. So, hey, it is what it is. Again, we're only 2 games in. We can't sit here and say whether it's the outlawing the 2 safeties is just complete nonsense. I mean, I talked about this on my Twitter. I think it's just a stupid idea. All right, you either show patience and you run defenses out of that too high shell and you take the underneath passes, or you execute on deep digs, corners, seam routes. But that requires your offensive line to hold up and pass pro for those routes to develop. And let's be honest, do we have faith our offensive line is going to hold up for those? See, you're seeing teams attack the flats more. The Miami Dolphins throw more screens, swings out of the backfield. Why? Because they do not trust their pass pro to hold up for those deep digs, those corners, those seam routes consistently. So they're making the passing game an extension of the run. Either way, I think banning too high shells is dumb. Stupid conversation. So let's get into it here. We got a lot to cover, a lot to go over. Let's start off with Tua Tagovailoa because your boy is feeling away. Look, your boy is feeling away. If you didn't see this, prepare to have your socks knocked off. And check out the thumbnail. Shout out to my thumbnail guy. It's absolutely hilarious. Tua in the Mickey ears. It's jokes. Here's a Tua Tagovailoa update. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who missed at least the first 4 games, was engaged in teams meeting this week and will travel with the team to Seattle, McDaniel said. And this is encouraging. Mostert spent time with Tagovailoa at Disney on Ice less than 24 hours after the concussion, and Tagovailoa showed no signs of being concussed, according to Mostert. I spent time with him last Friday. We took our families to Disney on Ice, sharing that moment with our kids and each other and Jonnu Smith's wife and kids, Mostert said. It was good to see him out there doing his daily activities and being Tua. He seemed to be doing good and doing good now. Seems like he's in the upward trend. I can't speak on his diagnosis, but he's still staying active and doing what he can do on a daily basis. Yeah. So Tua, the day after being concussed, he's out here going out to Disney on Ice the day after being concussed. Now, why does that matter? I'll tell you why that matters. There's like strobe lights and stuff involved with this. And, Mostert said Tua showed no visible signs of having been concussed today when he spoke, according to Barry Jackson. So you got your star quarterback out here at Disney on Ice. There's strobe lights. Yes, it's dark, but there's strobe lights. Your eyes have to follow the movement pretty consistently. And, showing no signs of post-concussion syndrome. I mean, usually you go to Disney after you win the Super Bowl, not after you take a concussion. I mean, you got to start asking yourself, is this purely an optic game right now? Is that what we're dealing with? Is this purely an optic game right now with Tua Tagovailoa in this situation? I mean, are optics going to cost us games and cost us this season? And I can't believe you're traveling to Seattle this quickly. Usually after concussions, if you have post-concussion syndromes or it's a serious issue with that concussion, you're not hopping on a plane. That's not what you want to be doing. You don't want to be hopping on a plane after you suffer a concussion. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like that wouldn't be the most ideal situation to go, like 24 hours removed from a concussion, going to an arena where you got to have your eyes constantly moving to watch, strobe lights, lighting, blah, blah, blah. That's just not ideal. I mean, hell, you don't have to have a concussion and you go somewhere with strobe lights, and what do they already warn you? You could have seizures because of the strobe lights, etc., etc. We've all read the the warnings and such. Like, this feels like just a pure optic move. And, it goes back to what I was hearing about how he didn't want to go on IR, how he wanted to be ready for that Titans or that Patriots game. Like, if that hit doesn't happen on national TV, is Tua going on IR? 300 Ego says, do you think McDaniel should stop him? I mean, that McDaniel can't. I mean, that's his personal life. What are you going to tell him? There's literally nothing you can tell him at all. That's literally his personal life. I don't know. I don't know. So, this tells me if this was his first issue like this, we probably wouldn't even be dealing with him without 4 weeks. We probably wouldn't have him that. I'm sitting here like, I can't believe this. This guy's going to get cleared to go to Disney on Ice where there's strobe lights. I even asked my wife, because she's been to Disney on Ice. I said, yeah, when you go to Disney on Ice, she's taking our nieces, our daughters. I don't, I'm good. I haven't been to one of those since I was like a kid. And I remember going to Mighty Morphin's Power Rangers on Ice when I was a kid too. But I digress. I brought that up to her and she's like, yeah, there's strobe lights. There's all that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay. I don't know. This just feels like more and more like an optics play. So, it is what it is. And, I see John says not a good look for our QB1, but really, from what I heard, he was pushing not to go on IR. From what I heard, he wanted to be back for the Titans game or the Patriots game. Behind the scenes, Tua is pushing to return. It sounds like, if you want my honest opinion, the NFL and the Miami Dolphins are stepping in. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, if he would have came back for the Tennessee game, would have been 18 days removed from the hit. The Patriots game would have been 24 days removed from the hit. Like, it sounds like Tua, by the time he's going to come back, is going to have been good for a couple of weeks already. I don't know. If this costs us our season and we're sitting here saying, and our quarterback behind the scenes is saying, yo, I'm good to go. Like, clear me. Do not put me on IR. Do not have me out for 4 games. I am good to go. And we lose here with Skylar Thompson. I'm going to have an issue with that. Because you're not protecting Tua from himself, which, if that was the case, I would respect more. That sounds like you're protecting yourself from bad PR, from negative optics in the media. So, man, like I said, now we're starting to see why the signs of why Tua never considered retirement, huh? Because he wasn't, and I said this. All right? I said this after the game. The guy's up and about talking to everyone and checking on how everyone else is doing after the loss. Not so much concerned about how he's doing, but checking on everyone else and how they're doing after the loss. That don't sound like a guy who should be sitting in a dark room staring at a wall, trying to fight off migraines. And I said this. And I've even seen some discussion on X about, about whether he was actually fencing or not compared to what he did against the Cincinnati Bengals a couple years ago. I don't know. This is just, oh my God. Skylar we trust, I guess. So, Tua going to Disney on Ice, not even 24 hours removed from a concussion, but we're led to believe that the team is protecting Tua from himself. And this just goes back to my Patreon and channel member report. Sounds like it was pretty on point with him wanting to be back for Tennessee or the New England Patriots, given the information we're starting to find out here. And really, PR is not happy with Raheem Mostert right now. They are not happy. So, anyways, let's get into this. Let's preview this game between the Dolphins and, of course, the Seattle Seahawks. For all of you heading to the game in Seattle, because I know there's some people making the trip. Here's what your weather's looking like right now. All right, over 300 of you in the chat. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. It's going to get to about a high of 68 degrees, low of 65 at kickoff. About 64% cloud cover. Precipitation probability is going to jump from about 18% to 37%. There is a chance of rain before about 5 a.m. It's going to be mostly cloudy. There is a chance of light rain at kickoff, right? And kickoff around 4:05 p.m. So we got a late one on Sunday for all of you. And we'll be doing the post-game show right after that. So all of you going down to Seattle, man, make some noise because you gotta help drown out that 12th man. One of the loudest stadiums in football, Lumen Field, and we need our fans to be as loud as possible this weekend. All right. Now, the injury reports, and I say reports because for some reason this week, they've been split up. So on the let's go on to the Seahawks side. This is what the Seahawks look like. Their injury report looks like, and then we'll go into the Dolphins. Okay. So for the Seahawks, it looks like Jerome Baker, Kenneth Walker, and George Fant are all doubtful for Sunday. So it could be the Zach Charbonnet game for the Seattle Seahawks with no Kenneth Walker. Kevon Wallace, Farrell Brown, Boy Mafe, Laviska Shenault, they are all questionable, so they'll probably be good to go. But no Jerome Baker. So, all of you that wanted to see the Dolphins return against and play their former player, it looks like that will not be happening this weekend, as Jerome Baker is in fact doubtful. Kenneth Walker is a decent loss, and obviously George Fant, that is that's a tackle loss for the Seattle Seahawks, and that's gonna do guys like George Fant is starting right tackle, so they're gonna have Stone Forsythe in there instead. That's a matchup to exploit. That's a matchup to exploit for sure. And they're going to be relying on Zach Charbonnet and Kenny McIntosh with no Kenneth Walker out. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. On the flip side, the Dolphins, no Grant Dubois. Shucks. Oh, shucks. No Grant Dubois. He has a shoulder injury. What? Did your shoulder get hurt from the absolute dime Tua threw and hit you in the shoulder with? Is that what your shoulder's hurt from, bro? Raheem Mostert and Malik Washington are doubtful. So Dubois is out. Malik Washington is doubtful, and they cut Robbie Chosen. What does this tell you, people? This tells you that you might see a dose of Tanner Connor, and you're going to see guys elevated. And I think you're going to see Izakama. And are we going to get our first dose of my boy Dwayne Eskridge? You remember I wanted Dwayne Eskridge brought back. I wanted us to sign him when he was put on waivers, we did. I love the upside of Dwayne Eskridge. The upside of Dwayne Eskridge is absolutely huge, if you ask me. All right? I think this is a guy in this offense, man, he could definitely be something. All right? You're talking about a guy who's a blazer in terms of speed. All right? He's just an absolute stud when it comes to speed. I know a lot of people were high on him when he was coming out of Western Michigan. He was picked in the second round, 24th overall. All right. And he runs a 4.38. So we're talking about a guy who's legitimate 4.3 speed. So I'm excited to see what Dwayne Eskridge can do. Eric Ezukanma, listen, it makes sense that Eric Ezukanma comes back. We have seen his chemistry with Skylar Thompson over the last few preseasons. So I'm down. Let's go. What do you got, Eric? And get Eric Ezukanma acclimated, because when Tua comes back, I want Eric Ezukanma on the field. So basically how it looks like, you might get a little dose of Tanner Conner this week. Big slot. You can flex in. You can even put him on the boundary as well. You're going to see Devon Achane probably out there as well. Maybe some more Jalen Wright mixed in here. But it sounds like if you were to, put my head to a fire and make me make an educated guess on who your receiving corps is going to be this weekend, sounds like it's going to be Tyreek, Waddle, Berrios, Eric Ezukanma, and potentially Dwayne Eskridge. Dwayne Eskridge comeback game? Hey, he's facing his old team potentially if he gets called up. So maybe we see some impact. Maybe we see some splashes. Just saying. So how do these two teams stack up heading into it? And this is where it's interesting too. You look at it right now, the Dolphins, even with last week's debacle, are still ranked the number 8 offense. Seahawks are ranked 13th. Now passing, even after last week's debacle, the Miami Dolphins are still the number 1 passing attack in the NFL. Well, that number will dip, okay, with Tua out for sure. The Seahawks are the 6th best. In terms of rushing, the Dolphins are 20th. Seahawks are 23rd. In terms of scoring, the Dolphins averaging 15 points a game is just not good. They're 27th. Right now, Seahawks are averaging about 24.5 points per game. That's tied for 9th best. Sacks allowed, Dolphins have allowed 3. The Seahawks have allowed 5. On third down, the Dolphins are converting at a 48.4 clip, which is 4th best in the NFL. The Seahawks are converting about 40.7, which is 12th best. Total defense, the Dolphins right now are 4th in total defense. The Seahawks are 6th. Passing defense, the Dolphins are 5th. They're allowing 139 yards per game. Remember, though, Josh Allen, some context to that number. Josh Allen wasn't asked to do very much last week. He didn't need to, and they still put 31 points up on us thanks to turnovers. Passing defense for the Seahawks is 2nd best. They're allowing about 128.5 yards per game. Not great. But when you look at what they faced to this point, I mean, let's be honest here, right? It's not like they've had an absolute stud lineup of quarterbacks, right? They had to be Bo Nix, and then they had to beat Jacoby Brissett. And now they get Skylar Thompson. Talk about the luck of the draw for the Seattle Seahawks to start the year out. In terms of rushing defense, the Seahawks are 21st. They're allowing about 142 yards per game. Dolphins are 15th. They're allowing about 118. Scoring defense, Seahawks are 12th. They're allowing 20 points per game. Dolphins 23rd. They're allowing about 24 points per game. Sacks, Dolphins only have 3 to this point. The Seahawks have 5. Third down defense, Dolphins are only allowing teams to convert at 26.3% clip. Seahawks are allowing teams to convert at a 32.4% clip. Dolphins have the 7th best third down defense. Takeaways, the Dolphins only have 1. You need more takeaways. Seahawks, they have 3 already. They're 9th best in the NFL. And then giveaways, the Dolphins have 3 and the Seahawks have 2. So very similar in that area. But we are going to need to create some turnovers and make life a little difficult for the Seattle Seahawks. And with that said, that's a perfect segue into my keys to victory for the Miami Dolphins offense and defense for this week against the Seattle Seahawks. Let's start off with the offense and my keys to victory for the Miami Dolphins offense. And it's very simple. You got to put Skylar in a position to be successful. All right? McDaniel needs to simplify what is being asked because, of Skylar, because compared to what was expected of Tua in this offense. I mean, Skylar can't anticipate like Tua. He can't process or read defenses as quickly or as effectively as Tua Tagovailoa. You need to simplify the game plan. And if that means making calls less wordy and taking some motions out so you can ensure that those play calls are getting in on time, you're breaking the huddle with a good amount of time left, you got to make this as easy for Skylar as possible. To be honest with you, in my opinion, you got to treat this like a rookie. You see how they're simplifying it in Washington for Jaden Daniels right now. You got to do the same for Skylar Thompson. Number 2, you got to get the ball in your playmakers' hands. I mean, here's the issue. We've seen what's happened in the past with Skylar, Tyreek, and Waddle, right? We've seen the numbers dip. All right? Tyreek Hill with Skylar Thompson's 3 full games in 2022, he averaged 9 targets, 5.3 catches, and 46.3 yards in those 3 full games Skylar Thompson played in 2022 with 0 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle averaged 5.3 targets, 3.7 catches, 37 yards, and 0 touchdowns in Skylar Thompson's 3 full games in 2022. You cannot have that happen. You cannot have that happen. You got to find a way to get the ball in your playmakers' hands. Does that mean more bubble screens? I don't know. Does that mean more slants, drags, levels, mesh, whatever concept? I don't know. But you got to figure out a way. You got $60 million between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Skylar Thompson cannot afford to have those kind of numbers. If we are in a 4-game stretch without Tua, and once again, Tyreek Hill is averaging 46.3 yards per game and 0 touchdowns, and Jalen Waddle is averaging 37 yards per game and 0 touchdowns, we ain't going 500. I'm telling you that right now. And third key is something I've been stressing. Now, it was either between this or the other one I could have gone 4 keys. You need flawless execution. I mean, you cannot afford mistakes with Skylar Thompson under center. That's just a fact. But Devon Achane season. He needs to become the focal point. I can sit here and make the argument to each and every one of you. He's been our best playmaker over the first 2 weeks. He's been our most explosive player over the first 2 weeks. Yes. And I did not forget that Tyreek Hill is on this roster. The Seattle Seahawks are allowing 142 yards per game on the ground right now over 2 games. They just allowed 185 yards on the ground to New England. Devon Achane's coming off 98 yards on the ground against the Buffalo Bills. Right? He also had 69 yards receiving. You're talking about a guy who's coming off 165 all-purpose yard performance. You need to feed Achane. It's Achane season, baby. Let it rain. Continue to let it rain. So put Skylar in a position to be successful. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands. Again, in the 3 full games Skylar Thompson played in 2022, Tyreek Hill had averaged 9 targets, 5.3 catches per game, and 46.3 yards and 0 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle averaged 5.3 targets, 3.7 catches per game, and 37 yards and no touchdowns per game with Skylar in those 3 full games. Can't have that. That needs to change. And then obviously Devon Achane season. We all watched the New England Patriots yesterday, and that's a team who's coming off 185 yards on the ground against Seattle. Between Achane and Jalen Wright, you should be lighting them up on the ground. Achane season, period. And Jalen Wright should have a good game too. Feed. Like Ryback, feed me more. You need to give that ball to your playmakers, and you need to let it be Achane season, baby. You need to predicate that pass with Skylar off the run. Ain't no two ways about it. And then my keys to victory for the defense. You need to generate pressure better than you have the first 2 weeks. You got only 22 pressures over the first 2 weeks. And you let Josh Allen do whatever he wanted. All right? When you look at this team and how they are built right now, and you look at how it's all set up, all right? When you look at defensive blitz percentage versus pressure created percentage, the Dolphins, there are, you look at their blitz percentage, all right? They are 7th best in blitz percentage, just over 30%. But when you look at pressure created, they're one of the worst teams in pressure created. They've created pressure on about just over 15% of their snaps. Only the Panthers, Raiders, and the Chargers are worse right now. That's not good. And then you look at Chop Robinson. He's got a pressure rate of 21.4%. That's second amongst all rookies, only behind Jared Verse, with 10 or more pass snaps as a pass rusher in 2024. Maybe Chop goes off this weekend. Number 2, Ramsey. He needs to be better. I mean, let's be honest here. Ramsey's allowing some big plays. Geno Smith is coming off a 327-yard passing game against New England. Ramsey's giving up big plays. Ramsey's allowing a 118.8 passer rating when targeted this season. Ramsey needs to be better. That secondary needs to bring its A game. Geno can make you pay. And they got DK Metcalf. They got Tyler Lockett. They got guys. And number 3 is you can't be leaky against the run. I know Kenneth Walker is out, but Zach Charbonnet is a good player. Remember, me and Neil were high on him a couple years ago, right? And check this one out. 3 of the 5 touchdowns that you've allowed defensively have been rushing. 60% of the touchdowns you've allowed defensively have been rushing. Bigsby averaged 6.1 yards per carry on 12 rushes, and James Cook, he averaged 7.1 yards per carry on 11 rushes. You cannot be leaky against the run. I'm sorry, you just can't. You got to be better against the run. There ain't no way about it. So you need to generate pressure better than you have the first 2 weeks. Ramsey has to be better, and the secondary needs to bring its A game, and you can't be leaky against the run like you have been through 2 weeks. You got to clean it up. There is stuff to clean up for sure with this team. There is just simply no single solitary doubt about it, right? There just isn't. And when I was going over the pressure for you guys, just a quick so you can see what I was talking about, I got a chart for you guys here. I mean, you look at it here. Look at that. Look at the Dolphins, right? Like I said, 7th best defensive blitz percentage, just over 30%. But look at the defensive pressure percentage. Only the Panthers, Raiders, and Chargers are worse right now. You got that high of a blitz percentage and that low of a pressure percentage. That is not good by any stretch of the imagination. But you got a guy like Chop right now, who he's got the second highest pressure rate amongst all rookies, 21.4%. Chop's pressure rate at 21.4% is better than the team's pressure rate. Figure that one out. The team's sitting at around 15%. He's at 21.4%. Need to be better, man. And my matchup to watch is simple. Like, Skylar Thompson. Now I got Jerome Baker's on here, but Skylar Thompson versus the Seattle defense. That's what these 5 players highlight. Skylar Thompson versus the Seattle defense. That's my matchup to watch. Right? Right now, like I already gone over, they are the 2nd best passing defense, 6th best total defense, 12th best scoring defense, and they're 9th best in takeaways. They've got 3. And we've seen what Skylar Thompson can do. I mean, we're talking about a guy, when you go back and look at it, I mean, his best game was what? 20 of 31 for 152 yards, a 64.5 completion percentage, no touchdowns and no picks against New York in January of 2022. That was his best game. You know, we're talking about a guy who, in the regular season, he's 60 of 105. In that year where he played a lot, he was 60 of 105, 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 534 yards, a 57.1 completion percentage. And then, you know, people will try to tell you, well, against the Bills, Skylar Thompson almost brought us back. You mean the game where Zach Skylar had a touchdown where it was all field goals, right? You know, I mean, people will try to convince you that was a Skylar Thompson game when, you know, Jeff Wilson Jr. had a 1-yard touchdown run. Zach Skylar had a 5-yard fumble return. Jason Sanders had 4 field goals. Skylar Thompson was not good in that game at all, no matter what people try to tell you. Right? 18 of 45, a 40% completion percentage, 1 touchdown and 2 picks. A 44.7 passer rating and 23.3 QBR. Give me a break. We better see Skylar Thompson's best game on Sunday if we are going to stand a chance. I mean, there ain't no single solitary doubt about that. Now, where do I sit in terms of my prediction for the game? Sorry, I can't wear the rose-colored glasses on this one. I can't. I have the Miami Dolphins. I have us losing 17-13. I don't see how the Miami Dolphins win this game. You know, Skylar has to prove me wrong, basically. So I've got us losing 17-13. I'll give Achane a rushing touchdown. Jason Sanders 2 field goals. But that's where I'm at with this game. Brittany says she had us losing this game with Tua for the record. Hey, I hope we're wrong. Reverse psychology. I hope I'm wrong and we win this game. But, you know, I'm not gonna smoke that hopium right now. I have us losing this game 17-13. Achane touchdown, 2 field goals. That's how I see this playing out, people. And you got to deal with the 12th man. You're on the road in Seattle on the West Coast. You know? So, yeah, Lumen Field is the 2nd loudest stadium besides Arrowhead. It's not ideal. Not ideal whatsoever. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. I will be live on Sunday. We'll live react to this game at 4:05. Then I'll be live after for the 5th quarter post-game show. So a lot of content coming your way. Appreciate all of you for coming through on this Friday, showing support. Over 315 of you in the room. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new, like I said. Shout out to BetUS for powering this video. I truly, truly appreciate it. And hopefully the Dolphins can prove me wrong. I mean, you know, I'm not going into this game with a ton of optimism given the circumstances. But I still do think we're talented enough where I think we can beat the Patriots. I think we can beat the Titans. So I still think we can go 500 on the 4 games. Tua's out. And Tua, man, you know, like I said earlier, usually people go to Disney after they win. Tua's going to Disney on Ice the day after concussion. So Dolphins, are they protecting Tua from himself or protecting themselves in the NFL from poor optics in the media? Fins up. I'll see y'all in the next one. Have a fantastic evening, everyone.